We can either settle for a country where a shrinking number of people do really well, while a growing number of Americans barely get by. Or we can restore an economy where everyone gets a fair shot and everyone does their fair share and everyone plays by the same set of rules.
President Obama there last night talking about ensuring a fair economic shot for all Americans, which he called, quote, the defining issue of our time. I want to bring in the host of MSNBC's Dylan Ratigan show. Dylan Ratigan, he is in Miami right now, part of his 30 million jobs tour, highlighting solutions to get Americans back to work. Also the author of that book, of course, you've heard of it by now, Greedy Bastards, How We Can Stop Corporate Communists, Banksters, and Other Vampires from Sucking America Dry. Quite the subtitle there, good sir. Dylan, first of all, let me just get your take on the speech last night. What do you make of what the president had to say to America?
Out of the president for seizing onto the core issue, which is the lack of investment in this country, the lack of investment in job creation, the lack of investment in our infrastructure, the lack of investment in solving our country's problems. The only thing that gives me pause, Craig, is the following. In order to resolve the inequality as the president portrayed it, and I prefer to think of it actually as inequity, the world is naturally unequal. We just, Americans, I think, are much more respond to a sense of two sets of rules. We know that there's going to be variance in one person to another, but we respond horribly to the sense that there are these two sets of rules. And unfortunately, under this president, the same trade, bank, and tax policies that were established long before he arrived under President Bush and President Clinton have been perpetuated. And so what I would say to the president is match your words, please, Mr. President, by engaging in legitimate bank reform. We've seen $1 trillion decline in lending from our banks after giving them $30 trillion. They're still too big to fail. We obviously need tax reform. We're learning so much about the incredible taxation that's placed on the working class in this country and the incredible tax benefits that are given to the wealthy in this country, and a trade policy that this president, as every president before with China, that allows China to rig their currency at 50% on the dollar.
I'm glad you brought up
those are sort of the core issues.
I'm glad you brought up China. I want to take a listen here to what the president said last night about China and get your thoughts on this on the other side. Take a listen.
Sure.
Millions of Americans who work hard and play by the rules every day, music and software be pirated. It's not fair when foreign manufacturers have a leg up on ours only because they're heavily subsidized. Tonight, I'm announcing the creation of a trade enforcement unit that will be charged with investigating unfair trading practices in countries like China.
Is that going to be enough, Dylan?
It won't be enough, and I don't know that it's even fair for me to suggest that I'm qualified to assess whether it would or would not be. It is a wonderful step in the right direction. Specifically, I would point everybody to the Chinese subsidies in solar, where they are effectively taking over the global solar market by subsidizing it, making it impossible for us or any other country in the world to compete on that front. The other thing that I would really like to see from the president, in addition to an anti-dumping lawsuit against China on solar specifically, would be the willingness of our Treasury Department to define China specifically as a currency manipulator, which would then clear the way for trade rules to be enforced to reconcile that. So an additional step the president could take with his Treasury Department would be to define China as a currency manipulator. But this is, listen, he's pushing in the right direction, and I think it's for us to help him continue down the road in order to restore the investment fairness and trade, taxes, and banking that's a necessary precursor to the equality and fairness, the elimination of two sets of rules that we all so desperately are seeking right now in this country.
This is week 2 of the jobs tour that you kicked off. What are you hearing on the ground? What are you hearing from folks all over this country?
Well, we came to Florida specifically because we thought it was such a brilliant metaphor for this entire country. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is natural paradise in the lower 48 in our country. If you are a citizen in this country, this is a territory that is as welcome to you as any other part of our nation. And at the same time, it's a paradise in peril. This is ground zero for the housing crisis, which may be our greatest barrier outside of things like trade to job creation. And so we wanted to highlight the contrast between the incredible potential and beauty of this nation that we all share, simultaneous to that paradise being in peril because because we aren't resolving the elephant in the room that is housing, that has Florida jammed effectively in terms of its economy. It also gives us an opportunity to look at how we could make significant improvements in our health care systems, because obviously the nature of the demographic in Florida tends to be older, and as a result has greater demand for health care. It's an opportunity for us to look at how we can more effectively create health for the baby boomers in this country, which is central to our future, bearing in mind that 5% of the American population, Craig, is responsible for spending 50% of our health care dollars, and a lot of that is getting spent here in Florida. So, and all of that obviously equals jobs. If you solve health care and if you solve housing, you are now on that road to 30 million jobs.
Dylan Radigan, always a pleasure, sir. Do appreciate your time.
Thank you for the time, Craig.
Week 2, Dylan's 30 million jobs tour kicks off from Miami less than 2 hours today. The tale of two Floridas and how solving the economic crisis there is critical to addressing the crisis facing the rest of this country. Dylan just hit on it there. You'll, of course, get lots more. 4 o'clock Eastern, right here on MSNBC.